Hi, it's Victor with Design Your Own Destiny. Our next 5-part series is going to talk about manifesting the things into your life that you want and not the things that you don't. The Bible says in Matthew 7, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds, and the one that knocks, the door will be open to you. So how do you do that? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this series. It's interesting. There are a couple of definitions for manifestation, and they seem to be paradoxes of each other. But the first definition is a symptom or a sign of an ailment. So what's the ailment? The ailment is that you're not getting what you want in life, and there are ways to change that. The other definition says an event, action, or object that clearly shows or embodies something, especially a theory or an idea. Now, it seems like the two of those may be at odds, but they're exactly correct, because the ailment is the embodiment of something that you have created, and there are ways to change that. The Latin root of manifestation means to make public. And so basically, you're making public something that starts here, and it's going to manifest into your life. And we're going to show you how to do that. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this series about manifesting into your life the things that you want. Be blessed.
Introduction. It's in your hands. What would you like to have in your life? How would you script your life if you had the chance? What are your wishes? Do you long for better? In a very short time, you will have the basic tools to answer these questions and create the dreams you seek. This is not a long-winded book written as high literature. It is a simple guide in plain language that will quickly empower you to make marvelous changes in your life. It is my intention that these basic suggestions become your go-to manual, the simplest way to be where you wish to be. I am very fortunate. I learned how to create changes in my life with a considerable amount of hands-on experience and from two very close friends who shared their directly observed experiences with me over many years. The information I gleaned from these teachers is so simple, it's laughable. It can seem unbelievable that something so basic and clear would produce such extraordinary results. A number of true stories are included here to clarify concepts and for your encouragement. This is a results-oriented book, so I'm not going to get into the speculative and theoretical physics that explain the possible mechanisms at work here. Let's not discuss how the television works, just turn it on. Over and over, people tell me about their successes with manifesting. They say, it just works. Chapter 1. Gratefulness is power. Thought as a force. This is a book about asking and manifesting, but more importantly, it's a book about the power of being grateful. I'm underscoring the importance of gratefulness and love right here at the beginning. We can manifest anything with our thoughts in a positive way, or equally well with worry or negative ideas. You can imagine countless things, and sometimes they are charged by your emotions. Your thoughts can quite literally create any number of negative and positive outcomes around you. Soon, you'll be able to make positive changes in your life simply and powerfully. A child can do this, but you have the advantage of greater experience and wisdom. I hope you will use the information here to bring your dreams to life. This is true for everyone who picks up this book. You are worthy enough to ask, and smart and talented enough to create what you desire. I love this phrase because it sticks in the mind, but I mean it kindly. I want you to have an unfair advantage. When I use the word manifesting, you may think of creating. To my ear, creating is a child making a drawing, a chef tweaking a recipe, or an entrepreneur writing a business plan. Manifesting goes beyond creating. I use the term manifesting in the biggest possible sense. Like Moses parting the Red Sea. It implies a magical and majestic act of creation without pencil and paper, without hands-on manipulation and physical limits. For simplicity, I will use manifesting and creating interchangeably here. Create unlimited wonders. Manifest big. The act of creation is not a magician's trick. It is everyone's gift and easy to do. It's one of the keys to the universe for you to use. Create the good. Manifesting is invisible but powerful, and it has been taught for a very long time in numerous ways. I can't tell you that I have the ultimate method, but I can offer you a routine and formula that simply work. Everything required to manifest successfully is here. Create the good and comfort you require in your life and remove your guilt, issues, and obstacles. Manifest what is positive for you and leave the rest behind. For years, I've listened to a lot of people discuss and give advice on the best possible ways to bring things into people's lives. People compiled text, compared stories, methods and results. Common threads and best practices emerged, resulting in many books and lectures. Over the years, manifesting became a common topic. I'm very happy more people are creating good things in their lives by essentially following the old wisdom, ask and you shall receive. In my case, I learned about manifesting directly, not from books, but in a very hands-on way from Judy Goodman, William Buhlman, and others. I didn't have prior knowledge of manifesting and had no real instruction, manual, or philosophy on the subject, but I was successful anyway. This direct education showed me over and over that thought is a force. Thought happens in real time and causes an effect immediately. I was clearly shown that manifesting is both an act of creation and attraction available to anyone. I learned to harness the power of thought in a unique way, and I'm passing it on to you. But before we talk about all that, here's a story about asking in its simplest form. Make a wish. I always encourage people to ask, to make wishes. I'm continually amazed by people who won't ask for themselves. They pray and petition for world peace, their children, immediate family, for rain and more, but not for them alone. Their unselfishness is commendable, but I firmly believe it is allowed and advantageous to sometimes ask for yourself. I often feel compelled to ask people to make a wish, to make a lot of wishes. The request certainly gets a reaction since I don't look like their fairy godmother. When I see that blank look on their faces, I say, "You do ask for things, don't you?" Many do, and our conversation follows along the lines of what was asked for and how it worked out. These discussions are pretty upbeat. For those who don't ask, the typical responses are along the lines of, "I used to ask, but my wishes and prayers happened. It scared me, so I stopped." Or I hear, "I don't think I should be asking for myself. I don't deserve that." Or, "I never get around to doing it." Sometimes people break down in tears. On occasion, I've had to grab a chair because a person's knees began to buckle. Perhaps they've been waiting for permission, and the opportunity overwhelms them. Do all of these people subsequently embrace the moment and begin asking? No, most do not. I like to check back from time to time, and I find that less than half eventually do. Happily, I do get the occasional good story from the group that does. If you never turn another page in this book, it's perfectly okay. But allow me this request. I want you to make some wishes. They're just for you, no one else. It just may be that asking gets better results than not asking at all. Why not give it a try? Nobody's looking. Here's an example of someone who gave it a try with a striking result. Next day service. I met my friend John Haram many years ago through the Denver Hospice. He is the CEO and president of Haram Economy, a fifth-generation provider of mortuary services in the Denver area. John and his company have won many awards for their business practices and civic service. Let me also add that John is fun to hang around with. I never dreamed I'd have a pal in the mortuary business. One evening, the two of us were talking when the impulse hit me to suggest that John make a wish. "What about?" he asked. I said that it was just for him. "Make more wishes if you like, but they are just for yourself," I said. "I have everything I need," he replied. "I would wish for my family." "Certainly wish for your family if you like," I said, "but this is just for you." He thought for a moment. "What I really need is a business decision," he said. "We want to open another mortuary, and we are trying to make a judgment on the best location. My board is leaning towards an older part of town, and I'm thinking of going south into a newer area. This new facility represents a very big investment, and I want to make the best possible decision." It was a nice moment. "Go ahead and wish for that," I said. The next afternoon, John called. He began with the magic words I often hear from people who were manifesting. "You're not going to believe what just happened. I was on an early flight, and I was doing the zigzag in the airport security line when a man behind me read my luggage tag. He asked if I worked for Hiram McConaty, and I told him I was the president. The man told John he was part of the city planning team for Highlands Ranch, a large bedroom community south of Denver. The team had identified the need for a mortuary in Highlands Ranch, and he had recommended John's company. He was delighted to suddenly meet John in person. As the conversation went forward, John realized that the best location would be in the newer communities to the south. Months later, a very nice location was secured, and their beautiful facility was almost finished when I got another call from John. He wanted to buy a number of my artworks for his new facility, and I cheerfully accepted his offer. It was a big thank you from John, and happily, they liked the artworks in the new mortuary. After about a year, John told me the new facility was a tremendous success, beyond their estimates. He couldn't thank me enough and wanted to do something else for me. I was happy with the success, and I said, "I really didn't have anything to do with this. You're the one who made the wish." "But I want to," John said. "So here's what I'm going to do. You're going to get a free funeral service on the house." Well, that was a stunner. It just made me giggle. He assured me he wasn't kidding, and I replied, "Wow, I'm the first one on my block to get a free send-off." What a profound and unique gift. I have to say that some time back, I did ask for something along the lines of a VIP ride into the afterlife. I think John's gift is a very good start. John simply asked for something specific, and the next day he was given precisely what he had wished. Anyone can make these requests. You're fully empowered, so give yourself permission to ask. It doesn't matter what you think of yourself now. Be assured that you are more than powerful and capable enough, and it is my wish that you become very, very happy. Your joy may become contagious, bringing cheer to others. I hope it does. I would gently offer, please share your happiness modestly and considerately. Chapter 2. First Adventures. The Rose and a Duck. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, I was drowning with an issue in my life. Who doesn't have a personal issue or few? This was my serious personal issue that I couldn't shake and didn't understand. It seemed beyond my ability to make a change or understand what was happening. I can still clearly remember going right to the top with a prayer. I followed my belief and asked God for help because I was weak and failing. Amazingly, within a month, I was thrown a life preserver. I had recently become acquainted with a writer in the metaphysical field, and it occurred to me that she might know some intuitives, psychics, in the United States. I felt if I could understand the reason I was acting as I was, then perhaps I could solve my problem. Perhaps someone with greater insight could provide the answers I needed. My acquaintance gave me the phone number of a woman far more gifted than I could understand, Judy Goodman. I was very nervous, but I called Judy immediately, and we instantly became close friends. We stayed in very close contact, and she helped me immensely. Being mentored and befriended by Judy was an answered prayer. She is quite possibly the most gifted person in the Western world. She has a number of gifts that allow her to see and communicate with those in spirit, retrieve hidden information, and much more. Judy is very aware, accessing the seen and unseen worlds. Her sensitivity, access to information, and clarity are remarkable. Throughout the years, I have observed and worked closely with many extraordinarily gifted and intuitive people, but none like Judy. My personal issue was certainly helped by the information that Judy later provided, but my contact with her opened the door to an unexpected new world. The first gift. I had been speaking with Judy for a few weeks when a kind woman, a stranger, called to ask me if I knew what Judy could really do. Judy had instructed this person to get in touch with me so I would better understand Judy's abilities. At the time, my relationship with Judy was like a client. We were becoming fast friends, but I really didn't know her well. I didn't understand what this call was about, so I asked the caller to elaborate. She patiently explained to me some of Judy's many abilities. I clearly recall being familiar with many of the talents she described, but completely baffled and surprised by some of Judy's other capabilities. The woman on the phone said that if I were to send Judy something in thought, she would get it. Get what? I asked. The caller replied, she'll be able to see your thought form up in spirit, not our physical world, but what is commonly called the other side. The caller explained to me that she had sent Judy gifts in the past using her thoughts, and that Judy clearly saw and described the thought that was sent. Keep in mind that you and I wouldn't see these thoughts in our physical world, but Judy could. Clearly, something besides a conjurer's trick was at work here. Judy and I continued conversing more on the phone and became close friends. I was learning about spiritual matters, and my head was swimming with the possibilities and the vastness of it all. Some weeks passed, and it was the eve of Judy's birthday. I called and asked if she would participate in a little experiment. I had decided to send her something in thought that day. She agreed and asked me, so how are you going to do it? I wasn't sure. My best plan was to concentrate really hard on what was to be her birthday gift and somehow get it to her. I had understood, and she confirmed that thought was tangible and instantaneous. Look, it's really simple, Judy said. You're going to think of the thing in your mind, and since it's a gift, it's going to come from your heart. Your thought is going to be very powerful that way. Just think of the object for a few seconds and let it go. Since it's a gift, this thought will come from your heart automatically, and I'll get it every time. Judy also affirmed that it's not necessary to be creative or have visual talent. Anyone can imagine an object well enough, and fine detail isn't required. Here's a personal note. I'm a guy who is not attentive enough to subtleties. A guy thing, perhaps, but certainly something for me to work on. So you just read what Judy said about the heart, but all that I remembered was to think about the gift and send it. Heart? What heart? I thanked her and got off the phone. Wow, I thought to myself, there may be something to this. She didn't say I was crazy, and she approved of the whole idea. The next day was Judy's birthday. It gave me butterflies to think of what I was about to attempt. There I was in San Francisco, planning to send a birthday present and thought to Columbus, Georgia, a place 2,400 miles away. I began thinking about what to send, and an idea came to me quickly. I envisioned a yellow rose in a simple silver vase. I didn't need a photograph or reference. The object was easy to imagine. I held the idea for just a few brief seconds and let it go as a gift to Judy. I didn't have any concerns about the impossibilities or the distances involved. I took a few seconds and effortlessly sent my gift in thought as if I had done it 100 times. Later, as I drove to work, I began having second thoughts. This couldn't be that easy, so I crammed and jammed that thought over and over again until lunchtime. I was making sure that she would get the yellow rose. I was using brute force and a lot of it. Work was close to my house, so I drove home for lunch and called Judy. I was on pins and needles when I heard her pick up. Did you get the thing I said? I asked. Hang on, she said. I'm looking at the computer screen. Okay. I can clearly see all that is in the room. There are a lot of people on the other side who know it's my birthday today, so the room's filled with gifts from them. Keep in mind that most of us wouldn't see these gifts because they appear only in the world of spirit. They'd be invisible to us in the same way that ghosts are. There are a lot of people in the physical world who are aware of my birthday, and they have sent a lot of gifts as well, she continued. Ken, your gift is right up front, here on the desk. So I was eager to know if she got my gift. I'll never forget what happened next. Was it your intention to send me a rose, she asked? My heart jumped into my throat, choking me a little. I couldn't believe that she got it. This was a Hollywood moment. Yes, I replied. Was it your intention to send me a yellow rose? She continued. Yes, it was. I was so excited. This was unbelievable. How could something like this be happening? It was so simple but incredibly profound. I had really done it. But then Judy added, well, that's not what I got. What? What do you mean that's not what you got? I felt the rug pulled out from under me. She saw the rose, but that's not what she got? I shot right back. I don't understand what you mean. A long teacher pause followed, and then Judy continued. Someone saw your intention, embellished it, and then sent it on its way. I was scrambling for solid ground. I'm totally confused, I said. We had talked about this. I understood that thought is instantaneous across any distance. There's no time lag. You think it and the thought arrives anywhere instantly. Who could possibly grab my instantaneous thought, embellish it, and then send it on its way? Some big guy, Judy said. What do you mean, big guy? I couldn't believe this. I had already experienced an impossible development, and now something even more improbable has been created by some invisible person. Some big guy, she repeated. JC. What? Jesus? JC? Big guy? I said in complete disbelief. She confirmed it, and I just hung there on the phone in silence. I couldn't wrap my arms around this. Jesus is a name I don't use very much. I'm really not the born-again, saved-again type, but I certainly feel a deep respect and awe for him. I keep his name in reserve, as well as God and all the great religious figures. I'm not accustomed to having divine figures come up in conversation. Judy was aware of that and used his nickname on my behalf. I don't understand, Judy, so what is it that you're trying to say? She chose her words very carefully. What I'm looking at is a rose that has been dipped in gold, and it's all aglow. I couldn't see the color of it because there's so much light coming from the now golden rose. I had to play 800 psychic. I had to guess. I had to intuit that you sent me a yellow rose. By the way, she said, you did great, but I could tell you overworked it. I was stunned. She clearly saw my intention, but also how it had been embellished and by whom. I didn't know what to say, but I believe something real occurred. Something had altered my simple gift, turning it into something far more profound. We continued to talk for a time, but I can't remember a single word beyond the conversation I've described here. Those important moments were burned into my memory, nothing else. For days after, I considered that by simply using my thoughts, I sent a rose. It was held for a moment and then beautifully enhanced. Obviously, something big was going on, but what? Special delivery. From time to time over the following year, I continued to send things in thought to Judy. It was like a game I played. Sometimes my thoughts were embellished and other times not at all. On one occasion, a group of my friends at lunch combined our intention to send an autumnal bouquet to Judy. I immediately called her on behalf of the group, and she accurately reported what we had intended. Judy described a large bouquet of plants in fall colors. The arrangement was large, very beautiful, with little sparks coming off of it. She got the gifts sent to her in thought every time. Note that Judy allowed this connection from the group and from me on occasion, and she was open to my sending her things. It was like a student given the phone number of the teacher. If that student calls, the teacher recognizes the caller and picks it up. But not all of the other calls get through. Don't bother pestering Judy or your favorite target out of curiosity. It's unlikely that the gifts will ever be seen or felt. Now, I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. Want the proof? For about a year, I've been shown with absolute certainty that thought was something real. So, I didn't do anything other than play with the concept. The staggering importance of this never dawned on me. What an impressive and empowering tool simple thought could be. One day, all of that changed. It was about a year after the Yellow Rose event when this singular thought popped into my head. I immediately called Judy. Hey, Judy, are you busy? No, she said. What's up? I told her I had an idea. Just one, she said jokingly. Yeah. I told her about my idea to try out a thought in a new way. I asked if she had a chair in front of her, and yes, she did. So here's the plan, I said. I'm going to send you something in thought and put it into your chair. If you would, stay on the phone with me in real time while I do this. You can describe what's being manifested as it happens. She agreed, and I began to think about what I would send with just my thoughts. Only Judy would see the object being sent. This is the only expectation I had. Never did I dream of making something physically appear. The importance here was to send thought to someone who could see it as it appears non-physically. What would that be like? I got the idea that thought is material, but I didn't understand the mechanisms involved. I still don't really know, but I leaped in. It occurred to me that I should send something unique. It was also important to consider some unknowns. If kids were playing outside next to my house, would their thoughts get in the way of what I was trying to send to Judy? Would other thoughts floating around in the air interfere with what I was trying to do? To make a good proof, I definitely had to come up with a unique object, something that wouldn't be floating around. So here's what I came up with. I would send Judy a 5-foot-tall Daffy Duck and place him in that chair. He would be holding a vertical stick about 3 feet tall, and at the top, a flat horizontal board would be attached. Written on the front of the board in red lipstick would be the word love. Perfect. Surely no one else will be sitting around thinking about some duck holding a little handmade sign with a stick. Remember when I sent the yellow rose? Judy said that since it was a gift, I would create the thought in my head and the idea would flow out through my heart, the ideal combination. This business with the heart was a subtlety that I'd completely forgotten. I was gearing up to send Daffy when Judy asked, "So how are you going to do this?" I was ready. "I'm going to concentrate on this really hard and send it to you," I replied. "Go for it, bucko," Judy cracked. Bucko? Bucko? Grasshopper? She ever called me bucko? What's up with that? I didn't care. I was on a mission, and I was going to make this happen guy style and bludgeon that Daffy Duck into existence. I began concentrating and visualizing the Daffy Duck sitting in Judy's chair with his handmade sign. It was hard to sustain my vision. I wondered if people are truly able to focus on something like this. How do they keep their thoughts from sailing away to some other shiny horizon? This exercise was really important, but regardless, my mind quickly went to putty. Despite myself, I was able to pass together a pretty good effort, and after 2 minutes, I was worn out but ready. So I asked Judy, "What do you see?" I'll let that question just hang there for a moment. Chapter 3. Manifesting in Real Time, Thoughts and Lists. Here's what I knew about working with thought and manifesting at this point. About a year or so before this Daffy Duck moment, I became very close friends with William Buhlman. William is a best-selling author on the subject of out-of-body or astral traveling. I don't want to get too far afield here, but William and Judy both shared with me their vast experiences and observations from visiting the other side. They are both adept at out-of-body travel. They can leave their physical bodies and, using the etheric or spirit body that we all possess, travel in the spiritual or astral realms. Their level of consciousness is beyond even lucid dreaming. They are very awake and aware of their surroundings. Beyond this physical world, there's a lot of territory. Earth is very small in comparison to all that there is beyond our physical world. It's a fascinating subject, and they indulge my many questions. One of the topics I discussed with my very experienced friends is how thought is manifested in the non-physical world. This is what I learned. Wishes, intentions, and thoughts begin to form up on the other side like wisps of smoke. The more you think on them, the more layers of intentions you give these thoughts, the more solid they become. These wisps of smoke then become more solid and begin to take on a three-dimensional shape. If you continue, the form takes on blushes of color, becomes more solid, and then it becomes fully colored and fully formed, all on the other side. At that point, your thought is quite complete, and it will become more compatible with the physical world than the non-physical world. Your fully formed thought will become physical and manifest itself here. You have made it so. This is so very simple, but it takes a willingness and some effort on your part to complete the process of bringing the thought into reality. William would make lists and vision boards of what he wanted in his life, and during his out-of-body travels, he would sometimes view how his thoughts were forming up on the other side. The items on his list would be a common object like a new roof or a concept like health. Judy could do this as well. So many times I asked William and Judy, "You can really see your thoughts actually form up over there?" They assured me they could. So back to my question for Judy. "So what do you see?" We had remained quietly on the phone together while I was trying to send the duck, so I wasn't prepared for her sudden and aggressive response. When I asked her what she saw, Judy answered in such an intimidating way, I didn't have the space to think. Anything I had previously learned about how thoughts form up was pushed to the side. "You're just making smoke," she observed. "Look, if you put out a wimpy thought, you get a wimpy response. There's just smoke in the chair. If you really want to make something, you have to really get on this. You have to really try and make this happen." I'd never heard her speak to me this way. I was stunned. I was failing and wasting her time. I was doing a pitiful job and completely embarrassing myself. A wimpy job. Suddenly I was re-energized. I pushed and pushed that Daffy Duck with his homemade sign for another 4 minutes. If I thought I was worn out from concentrating before, I was totally exhausted after my second attempt. "I'm just cooked and I don't have anything else left. I don't know what else to do, Judy, so what do you see?" I asked hopefully. This was a very important moment for me, and I remember her response very clearly. "Was it your intention to send me a cartoon character?" she teased. This was another one of those Hollywood moments. Yes, I said in a state of wonder and shock. Well, Judy continued, what I'm looking at is some 2.5-foot tall, poor human-y thing. It's got little skinny arms and legs with cartoon colors on it, so I figured it's a cartoon character, and it's got a stick in its hand. What an amazing moment. I fell back into the chair victorious. It was absolutely amazing. I yacked on and laughed like a kid. I was so very happy and in such wonder at what had transpired. Through Judy's patience and coaching, she had given me something very important. My thoughts could create a fairly complicated form out of thin air almost instantly. I was convinced that I didn't perform as well as possible or efficiently, but it did manifest in a shape very close to my design. Wow! Only later did I realize I began to make smoke in the air just as William and Judy had described it to me. My thought had begun to appear as form. I was a smoke-making, daffy-ducking son of a gun. Judy's assertive response really jolted me and pushed me harder to a successful result. I also realized that anybody could do this if they wanted to. Later, you'll learn an elegant and simple method to use your thought as a tool. High levels of concentration and brute force will not be necessary. So what did I do with this hard-earned knowledge? Nothing much. Making a list. Using thought in real time to make something in spirit was a great experience, and I told my friends about it. I possessed this interesting knowledge, but never made the connection to use it in a practical way. I had this profound experience with Judy, and I knew William was making lists successfully, but those were two different experiences to me. I observed that thought was instantaneous in the non-physical world, and the list and vision boards took time to become physical. I wasn't much on making lists at the time. It just didn't sing to me. Sending things to Judy was fun and very intriguing, but I just didn't associate it to any sensible purpose. I didn't see that these two activities were essentially the same and incredibly useful. Shortly after my experience with sending thought, The Secret, a movie expressively about manifesting, came out. I watched it a number of times and shared it with friends. I really understood the film's message because I was in that choir. I had witnessed manifesting, sending things to Judy via thought numerous times. My friend William was making his personal wish list, and they were coming true. After the items on William's first list came to fruition, William called me to say he was starting a second list. The first item was not just visiting China, but being in China for an extended length of time. In a matter of weeks, he called me back and told me that his wife, a manager for General Motors, had been offered a job with an extended residency in China. Off they went for years. The results were hard to believe, but I was encouraged and I became a list maker myself. I would make a written list of things and concepts to manifest. Some of my items listed for improvement included income, my painting career, and a relationship. I would also make a vision board by covering a large sheet of paper or poster board with photographs of items and concepts I wanted to bring into my life. With a vision board, you can picture that wonderful vacation, the college degree, and that sweet red car. You can also illustrate concepts. Your blissful relationship may be a picture of a radiant couple. Your new joy is represented by the girl happily jumping to reach the sky. I had learned to strengthen my thought by adding more layers of intention to my list and vision board. The concept is to add more and more layers of intention until your thought becomes physical. In the